This is the GMTK Game Jam, one of the biggest and most well-known game jams out there. Run by Mark Brown from the Game Maker's Toolkit YouTube channel. The GMTK Game Jam is an event where game developers are tasked with creating a game in 4 days. That's right, this year the jam goes for a total of 96 days instead of the usual 48. Also, there was a total of 32,000 people who joined the game jam. So, of course, I decided to join as well. Is this a good time to mention that this is the second game jam I've competed in? I woke up the morning of the jam and the theme was
make a game that fits the following theme. Built to scale.
So yeah, the theme was built to scale, or more simply, scale. Immediately a few ideas popped into mind. I even looked up the definition, just to see if there are any smart ways I could twist this. Sadly, all of the alternatives were already displayed as an example. For example, fish scales. After some thinking, I came up with 2 ideas. The bad idea was a platform where the player is constantly losing size. However, the idea I decided on was inspired by a section of a fun little indie game called Webbed. In the game, there's a section where you need to assist with fixing this vehicle, the Answer Builder, by running around solving puzzles to obtain parts of the vehicle. So in short, I'm gonna make a game with inspiration taken from Web. Okay, so the basic idea was to create a game where you need to repair a structure by carrying a large heavy parts of said structure back to the main area for construction. But because your character is smaller and weaker, you must go around obtaining more little friends to assist with carrying the parts. With the idea picked out, I started by doing, the boring stuff like player movement, basic planning of what features I would like to add. Then I got to what I thought was the first roadblock, collecting the little guys and getting them to follow the player. At first, I decided it would be a good idea to drastically over-engineer the following system, but after trying that for well over an hour, I thought of what I think to be a pretty clever workaround. Instead of having actual AI for the little guys, I could just make the other little guys match the velocity of the player. Next, I worked on the art for the little characters. I thought due to it being a game jam, I wanted to keep the complexity of the art to a minimum, so I went with quite a limited color palette and a smaller canvas size. I would also like to mention the art for the game takes heavy inspiration from a video I saw of another person competing in a different game jam. I'll be sure to put the video on screen and in the description. I recommend watching it. Also, I couldn't forget to make the art for the title map, and honestly, I'm extremely happy with how it came out. Definitely one of the best ones I've made. After the game was looking much better, I decided to get to work adding one of the most important features in the game, the pickup system. Wow! Look, I know it ain't exactly exciting, but it needed to get done. I will say this took much longer than I thought. Main reason being is the way I decided to add it. I would fix a bug and, oh, it works! Then, oh, come on! So yeah, that took an hour. Anyway, I spent some time polishing it up and then headed to bed. Overall, pretty satisfied with the work I did. It's now the second day of the jam, and now that I have the basic systems in place, things like collecting other little guys, as well as being able to pick objects up, I needed to add something for the player to pick up. If you remember what I said before, okay, so the basic idea was to create a game where you need to repair a structure by carrying a large heavy parts of said structure back to the main. So yeah, that structure the little guys are meant to repair, I don't actually have an idea of what it should be. So I went to steal ideas. Politely ask my friends for ideas. At this point in development, I wanted to begin creating the levels for the game. Although, as simple as my game seems, I wanted to create a tutorial level, which just ended up being level 1. With the tutorial level, I didn't really want to just have text on walls saying what you needed to do, as I felt that was quite boring, so I decided to do something still boring, but better than just text. I wanted to try adding a little character that you can speak to, so here's that 5-hour process condensed into under 30 seconds. I started by making the art for the character. That's right, he's a talking sign. His name is Pine the hastily named sign. Once he was visually complete, I worked on adding his dialogue. This was easily the most time-consuming part of the entire project. Sure, there ain't much text, but getting the logic to work was a bit of a nightmare. So after all that trouble, there he is, Pine the hastily named sign. So now that I have everything I should need, I just need to mush it all together.
1 hour later.
Okay, level 1 is finished. Overall, it's pretty much what it should be. A simple, small playground for the player to get used to the mechanics. Pine also has some simple dialogue to guide the player throughout the level. After finishing the level, I went back and added the UIs and sound effects to the game. As boring as these are to add, let me tell you, it makes the game feel so much more full. Okay, so I have quite a funny thing to say. I honestly thought the end of the game jam was tonight, so I ended up making my game in the classic game jam crunch style. That is to say, I coded the systems in such a way that made it a headache to add anything to the game. Despite that, I decided to try to add more levels to the game. Level 2 is basically identical to the first one, just much bigger in size. Although, while making these levels, there was something very important to the game I forgot to add. Difficulty. Yeah, even though, in my opinion, the game was interesting to play, it quickly became boring due to the lack of difficulty or change in gameplay. Luckily, thanks to the time constrictions,
Over the next 4 days,
I only had to make 2 full levels, so the game only ended up being about 3 minutes long, which is fine for a game jam. Other than that, I made a final level and an end screen. As normal with most final days of a game jam, I mainly added things like menus, visual polish, particles, and lots of bug fixing, so I'm not going to go into much detail, just know it wasn't the most exhilarating experience. Once the actual game was considered complete, I created everything for the itch page, submitted the game, and knocked out. Overall, I'm quite happy with how the game came out. If you want to play it, you can find it on itch.io, just search Strength in Numbers or go to my profile, DylanDev14. Warning, the game is quite buggy, although that should probably be expected. If I'm able to, I'll try to leave a link to the game in the description, but no guarantee. YouTube can be quite annoying with links. Anyway, like and subscribe if you want. Have a great day.